Hi there! Today we're going to make this quick wire ring with the design of a Celtic knot. So let's get straight to it and get making. All we need for this project is some thickish wire. I'm using 1mm diameter or 18 gauge wire, but this ring is easier if the wire is quite soft, so you might want to experiment with a slightly thinner wire, say 0.8mm or 20 gauge wire. And then the tools we need are a ring mandrel, flat nose pliers, round nose pliers and wire cutters, and then optionally nylon jaw pliers or a rawhide mallet. We need 2 pieces of wire, 20cm or 8 inches long, and you could use a piece each of 2 different coloured wires if you wanted, for a bimetal ring. But I'm just going to use 2 pieces of copper. So we want to put the 2 pieces of wire together and then bend them around the ring mandrel. And we want to take the wire around about 2 sizes larger than we want the finished ring. I want this ring to be a size O when it's finished, so I'll take the wires around to size Q. Make sure that's tightly round. And then we can hold where they cross and bend the wire ends over the other side. And then we'll do the same with the other 2 wire ends and continue bending them so they're facing back where they came. Then we want to take those wires over the ring shank to create 2 loops. Now we need those loops to be big enough to get the wires through again later. And we just want to check that they're fairly even. Next, we want to take those wire ends through the ring shank. So if we hold on to the work that we've already done, we can then gently bend the wire ends around and take them through the ring shank. They can be a bit tricky to keep hold of, so we can use a chain nose or flat nose pliers to help. And we can take the inner wire through and then the outer wire to sit alongside it. And we want to keep those wires flat and create a loop outside of the previous one. Then we can turn the ring round and do the same with the other 2 wires, taking the ends through the shank and creating our loop. Now we can check that the 2 sides are fairly even. And I want those loops to be quite tight to the ring shank, so we can just adjust them as necessary. And we can pop the ring back on the ring mandrel, just to reshape it back to round if we need to. And that'll also help settle those wires into position. We can also check that those loops are coming down an even amount on both sides of the ring. Now we want to take those wire ends through that first loop that we made. So again, we need to gently bend them downwards. And this can be a lot easier using your flat nose pliers. So I can feed the first wire through and then take the second one to join it. And then pull them downwards through that space. Now this can be a little bit tricky, but just keep working at them until you get them through. And don't worry too much if the ring goes a bit out of shape at this point. I can just push that second wire through with my fingers. And then tighten them up with the pliers. You may also need to reshape that loop with your pliers, just to make sure both of those wires are sitting next to each other. I think that loop's still a little bit too large, so I'll tighten it up some more. And it really does help if we pull the wire down at an angle through that space, rather than across the plane of the ring. And then we'll do the same on the other side. Bending those wires around, taking them through that first loop, and then pulling them through to create the sized loop we want. Now you can see here that outside wire is just sitting a bit under the other wire rather than alongside it, so we can just adjust that with the flat nose pliers. And then put the ring back on the mandrel to round it back out again and check those loops are how we want them and are even on both sides. We can see our knots forming now. We're nearly there, we just need to finish this off. Now with having the wire weaving through itself like this, it can mean those wires are a bit lumpy. So we can help flatten the design down a little bit by either using our nylon jaw pliers and just clamping over that design, Of course, this will take the ring out of shape, so we can pop it back on a mandrel to get it back to round. Alternatively, if you don't have any nylon jaw pliers, you can use your rawhide mallet whilst the ring's on the mandrel and just gently tap over that knot. We don't need to use a lot of force with this. We're not looking to reshape the wires, just settle them into place really. And now we're ready to finish those ends. So we're going to bend them back over the two wires that they've just come under. And I'm keeping that quite tight to the side of those wires. And then we want to cut them just a bit longer than the width of those wires. So you've got a little bit of overhang. I'm just using a permanent marker here to show you where I'm going to cut. And then to cut them, we can lift them up slightly, just to give us access for the cutters. And I'll cut one wire at a time. And make them level. And then we want to curve those ends downwards. We can use a round nose pliers for this, so they meet the wire underneath. And if you've got some fine flat nose pliers like mine, You can also use those for bending these wires down. Bend all the wires down on both sides. And our knot's complete. And we can just pop it back on the ring mandrel to check. And yep, this is now a size O. Now we can leave it bright copper like this, but I'm going to patina it with liver of sulphur just to show off that knot design. If you enjoyed this design, why not check out more knots in this playlist, or check out this video that YouTube thinks you might like to see next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.